On the air. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the channel, Yankees Outdoor Adventures. I am Carlos Pequeno. You know me as Yankee. What are we going to do today? Well, I thought I'd do a quick educational video about the history of wildlife here in Northwest Ohio. Now, not necessarily Northwest Ohio. The wildlife research was done for the state of Ohio. This part, I think, before I get into all that, I want to give a shout out to the Ohio Department of Natural Resource and as well as the Ohio EPA. They're the ones who actually put together the resource list that I'm going off of. And I'm going to add links to their website so that you can follow up and find out more. So they'll be in the description. They're not in there just yet. So give me a chance. I'll put them in there. Before I get into the list, I do want to point out that, of course, I'm in Northwest Ohio. I'm in what the region that's known as the Great Black Swamp. And this region was the last region in Northwest Ohio to have people come into it and to take up here in it. So the knowledge of this particular area is really messed up because of that, because there wasn't so much coming in. And Wild Style, hello and welcome. I'm gonna roll into this list, and of course we'll stop and we'll hit if you guys got any questions or anything of the sort. Again, it is Ohio Wildlife History Timeline, and Ohio was part of the Native Nation land that was given, the Indian Territory. So again, a lot of the research starts around 1748, which is relatively late in time frame for settlers coming to America. It's around the timeline where Ohio began to get settlers coming into it. Again, up till then it was forced Indian territory. Well, it was all Indian territory, then it was forced Indian territory, and then settlers began to come in. So 1748 is when Ohio built the first trading post. It was built in Paducah. The main item for trade in 1748 was beaver. Now, beaver was immense in this area. I can honestly tell you, I've only ever seen two in my life in this area. At one time, the recorded record of beaver was outrageous. There was a number of over 1,000 pelts a day. So the amount of beaver there was wild. Nowadays, maybe some regional areas here in Ohio may still have beaver, but the entire state had beaver, a lot of them for a long time, but they don't now. 1770, George Washington mapped the land here in Ohio, and they marked down the animals that they had encountered on their survey. Wolves, cougars, bears, bison, elk were found all across the state. Okay, again, some regions of Ohio still see some bear and stuff. This area was known for it. We don't ever see any here. Elk, we don't see here in this area of Ohio, but were once here. Wolves, cougars definitely gone. I don't know even if southern Ohio has cougar at all anymore, but definitely not in this particular region. Wolves, very rare, although again we do have them around here. Very rare to see. Coyote would be more of what we would see in this area. So again, that's to mark from 1770 to now, the animals on this list are really non-existent in this portion that were once here. And hello everybody, welcome. I'm running through a history timeline of wildlife here in here in Ohio. I got to keep stressing that because this portion of Ohio was the very last portion anybody came into because of the swamp. It was they kept pushing the Indians this way, and at one point Ohio got down to where all the natives were in the swamp, and then they pushed them on out of there too. But So that's why there's the least amount of stuff known here about this particular location. Uh, get her done. Welcome, Uncle Al. Welcome, Wild Styles. Welcome. Going to continue to the list. Uh, okay, 1803. And this was actually interesting for me because I didn't realize how many there were this side of the Mississippi River. But um, in 1803, Ohio becomes a state, and the last bison uh, reported on this side of the Mississippi was reported here in Ohio in 1803. And of course, it was shot and killed. Yay. Victory. And and there hasn't been another one since. Okay, some of this gets kind of interesting too, to give you guys a viewpoint of the way wildlife was exterminated in a sense, because again, there's a lot of these animals that we don't have in abundance here anymore, but we used to. 1804, settlers were eager for something to read. All right, so they started a coon skin library that was here in Ohio. They used coon skin to raise money for books. They would also accept bear hides as well as wolf hides. $73.50 worth of furs were purchased, which were used to purchase 51 books, which created the library. So that's the way we used furs though at the time. So fur was a money trade for a lot of people in this early day. So you can't really hold it against them for they were in a land of plenty, and it'd be like if you walked into your backyard and it was covered with gold, all of a sudden you'd pick it up, right? And that's how they did this. So to stay open-minded to everybody involved, and why anyone's ancestors would participate in the mass kills. Squirrels. Okay, now you think about squirrels. We have a lot of squirrels around here yet today, but the really large indigenous foxtail squirrel and stuff, they're not in really large number here anymore, and they used to be so abundant that an unreal amount of abundance. Squirrels were so numerous that there was a law passed requiring taxpayers to turn in the scalps of a minimum of 100 scalps of squirrel to the county clerk's office when they paid their taxes. And now that, again, the squirrel scalps had no value as of a fur, or it wasn't used for anything other than to prove, yeah, I killed a squirrel. That was the proof. So, and that was a law that was created. And again, because they were a nuisance and a pest at the early time, and to where we stand now, we don't have a lot of them in this area anymore. Uman, welcome. I'm going to stop for one moment and check the chat, and then we'll get right back to the list. We don't have bears or squirrels. Possum, wild rabbits, New Zealand, Australia only. Possum, koala, kangaroo. Gotcha. Caught another one. Awesome, Uman. Glad to have you here, brother. Uncle Al. Okay. And like I said, if any questions come in, don't hesitate. I'll look up and I'll check in. In 1818, Athens County here in Ohio. Again, this is an Ohio timeline. Drops its bounty on wolves and cougars. Up until then, the wolves, and I got a train coming, so I'll speak up. Sorry about that. The wolves and the cougars, they dropped the bounty on them. Until then, their scalps could be turned in for money. They paid, where was it? The county paid $3 for young animals, $4 for the adult animals. This was also the year of the Great Hinckley Hunt, where thousands of animals were killed around Hinckley, Ohio. The Hinckley Hunt, I'm gonna check the chat again. Sorry about the noise, guys. And hope everyone is having. Hey, this old stoner, what's happening, bro? From one to the other. Great to have you here, my friend. If anybody's got anything to say in the chat, go ahead and throw it in there. So I'm kind of giving an opportunity for the train to go by and the noise to cut back down. Oh, but it's great to have you here. We're going over a list of wildlife timeline here in Ohio. Could still hear me okay? Awesome. That's awesome. Thank you. I was up to 1818 is when Athens County dropped their bounty. It was early on, actually 1818, but in this time frame, we actually began to realize the impact we were having on animals. So we began to change some things. That early, we realized the impact. In fact, as I was just talking about that, in 1829, the first Ohio law was passed to protect wild animals. So again, by 1829, we have already seen a decline so much of certain types of wildlife. We already knew that, hey, there's going to have to be some type of law implemented to cut down on the reckless kill, because again, a lot of times we were turning in things like scalps and tails just for proof of the kill, with not even caring about the value of the pelt or the meat or anything else whatsoever. You're very entertaining. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate that. Missed the beginning. That's all right, man. Welcome to the show. Again, we're just kind of running over a timeline of wildlife here in Northwest Ohio. I was up to 1829 when they actually implemented the first law, and the law was on muskrat. Okay, the very first law that was implemented May 1st, October 1829. It was on muskrat because at that point was when they finally realized muskrat was endangered. And I walk this river. You guys know I go along every one of these creeks, these river in this local area. Muskrat, I don't see them around. I don't see any signs of them around here. I don't know if we have any at all. And if we do, I'm going to guarantee you it's a small amount. So I don't know that it helped, but they did implement that law. Ohio is, and by 1839, Ohio led the nation in wheat farming. So, this, and that early on, 1839, Ohio has become a farming state, and it still is yet today. As I'm about to get into this timeline, we're gonna start to get into my region right here, the Black Swamp. Once they drain the Black Swamp, a 10-year project, once they drain it, it really opens up agriculture. As you guys see, I stand here in the middle of these flat cornfields for miles on end. So in 1839, we were leading in wheat, but now the most important thing about this in leading in wheat, almost all of the original forest by 1839, almost all of the original forest have been replaced by farms and small towns. So the mass amount of forest that was removed in the state of Ohio, and I know you guys down south in southern Ohio, you can still get out and see some trees, and you still see some deep woods. When you come on up into this northern part of the state and see what they did up here to the forest lands to claim it as farmlands, it's kind of amazing, because there's not much. I show you guys right now. It's no sense of flipping the camera to do it because I'm surrounded in head high corn, but there's just little pockets of trees here and there and little stone rows of trees, and none of those are original trees to the land. They may be big trees, but they grew back since, because man, everything's been stripped. What number? I do want to stay up with the chat. In the Woods with Woofy, welcome. Clint Moore, welcome. Uh, and you'd always be welcome to visit, my friend. Okay, where are we at now? Okay, elk, 1840. Elk was once found all across the state. By 1840, they're gone. I actually have friends and family in southern Kentucky that are part of what was started called the Elk Foundation, and they actually replenished um, a large portion down there. Well, then with a lot of other people, replenished that portion with elk. Somebody should adopt that in this region, I think. But I guess maybe it's too big of an animal to have around all the highways and freeways as well. So maybe it's just as well. I don't know. But by 1840 here in Ohio, they were gone. And a large animal, guys. You see a deer. I don't know how many of you have seen an elk. If you're in this region, although they used to be herds of them. If you're in this region, there's a chance you've never seen one in your life, and it's bigger than a deer. To think of the size animal they were. In Southeast Ohio, there are still plenty of cougars. If you throw, they'll leave you alone. I love that. I need to go over there, go cougar hunting. There you go. What else we got in here? There's no original trees anywhere really, and you're right. I guess would go to the redwoods where we have that redwood forest preserve. I would imagine some of those would be as original as trees could be. But I've talked about this before when I've done Native American talks. When settlers first came here, one of the number one resources, and you think about there was animals, there was plants, there was fish, and these were all big resources, and they all left here in boatloads. But it wasn't the biggest resource. The biggest resource was the wood. England had cleared its woods. They were down to little pockets and little groves of trees way back then. So when they came to a land that was, well, as once described, a squirrel could run to the top of a tree in New Jersey and he wouldn't have to touch the ground again until he got to the Mississippi River. He could run at treetop all the way. And that's the gold mine they found when they arrived. So that, of course, that affected everything. Ohio leads the nation in all kinds of farming by 1850. Mostly were small family farms. Ohio's population soars to about 2 million. That's statewide. The third highest in the country, and that's 1850. In 1850. 1855, there are no final records. Okay, so what is that? Okay, on the timeline of Bobcat, there's no final record timeline, but around 1855, they're assuming, is when they've pretty much all been evacuated from the area, killed off, or run off. Same with the large wolves, mountain lions. Again, most farmers seen any of those type of animals as pests and predators for their sheep and pigs. So there was straight up bounties on any coyote, wolf, bobcats, mountain lion. And I know you take mountain lion, you don't think Ohio, but yes, mountain lion. But they were seen as predators. So they were exterminated. And so 1855, all of those were gone. The first law to protect a fish in 1857 here in Ohio. 1857, the first law to protect a fish. and as well as the protection of a songbird in 1857. It's, we had major bird kills here in America or in our earliest days. You think about what you hear about passenger pigeons. Okay, passenger pigeons don't exist. However, at one time, they claim passenger pigeons flocked the sky so heavily it would be like a major cloud storm of pigeons. And we used to have mass kills. There were some towns you can research some towns on the East Coast that would actually have in the cities have cannons that would be filled with pebbles and glass and rocks, and the big wide mouth cannons, and they would just shoot at the flocks of birds, killing hundreds of them per blast. Um, because they were a nuisance at the time. So again, around this time, those birds were becoming extinct, and Ohio was beginning to implement laws. Get her done by all right, Wild Style. Hey, the green feathers, giants and grassmen, no doubt. Nudge, welcome. And again, we're just talking quick a timeline of Ohio's wildlife. 1875. In 1875, to all this stuff we've been talking about here in Ohio, they finally come into this region right here where I'm standing. 1875, the Great Swamp was drained. It took a decade of ditch work. Guys, a phenomenal feat actually to drain, because there's over 15,000, and I know it's like, wow, how can that be? But they're dug in a grid shape. The swamp stretches out. Well, the swamp touches I guess it touches Indiana, Michigan, Ohio, all across that top region. It stretches for miles, and it kind of wiggled around. They drained the whole region, hand dug ditches, 15,000 miles of hand dug ditches, and they treed, of course, cleared trees. Yeah, as we talked about, that was done every time they had the opportunity. And what was left behind was, here in the swampland, was all this flat land that, guys, check out any of my wintertime videos and you can see how many miles on end you can see around here. It's just, that's the middle of the swamp. It's just flat, dead flat land that is now a major agriculture land. We grow corn, soybean nowadays. Back then, we were still growing a majority of wheat. And some of it, by 1875, once the swamp was drained, really large farming outfits began to come in as well. News had a video of a king snake eating a copperhead. That would be wild to see. And hello, Green Feather and JUFM. Welcome, my friend. Awesome to see you all here. And thank you for the super chat, my brother. Always appreciated. 1881, the last known black bear reported in Ohio was killed in Paulding County. Paulding County, Ohio. It's 1881. There may be some possibilities of bear in southern Ohio again now. However, and maybe even eastern Ohio, but I'm not sure about that being any fact. Without a doubt, they were numerous at one time, and now they're by 1881, they're no longer around. 1883, Ohio's original forest land covered more than 24 million acres. By now, only really? Covered 24 million acres. By 1883, only 4 million acres remaining. That's it. That's what we did to the trees here, guys, okay? So, again, massive forage clean out. When you remove that ecosystem, you completely change the wildlife system. This is why Ohio noticed the bird decline right away. They noticed the fish affected right away. Well, why fish when you're removing trees? Well, because it changes the runoff. That's what it changes. It changes the whole cycle for the fish as well. It changes a lot of things. So, Ohio is beginning to figure this out early on. Not that we really did a whole. I mean, I guess again, not to judge the people because I guess for their time and for who they were, they did what they could. At least they did something. 1886, the Ohio Fish Commission becomes Commission of Fish and Game. Stop it, Ela. You're making weird noises. Stop it. Come on. Get away from that. Go on. Here, back up so everybody see you, so they don't think I'm talking to myself. You probably didn't see her. Yeah, there she is. Okay. So 1886, the Ohio Fish Commissioner becomes Fish and Game Commission warden. And again, that'll be the era when they start enforcing all their little laws that they're beginning to implement now for the wildlife. The elk were east of the Mississippi. Yeah, bison. If you missed the earliest part of this video, bison was one of the most, I thought was really surprising to me. I had to do side research once I read that. I was like, oh, no, wait a minute, boom. And yes, there were bison this side of the Mississippi. They just didn't run in the large herds like they did out west, and maybe because they were dwindled down by the time it was recorded. I don't know. But the last one on this side of the Mississippi, the very last one, was recorded here in Ohio. And of course, like I said, so we shot and killed it. Yay, Ohio. We'll get you, you last bison. All right, where was I? Okay, so now we're getting into the acts of the game commissions, and I get it. That's not all so much important in my opinion. 1896, we opened our first fish hatchery, began restocking. 1900, we get a law that prohibits killing certain game out of certain times a year, and as well as killing certain wildlife. And here's one that's really interesting. Now we'll get back up out of the Fish and Game Commission. They're having all kinds of stuff going on, starting at 18. Where were we? 1830 or 1886. By 1909, wild turkey and now white-tailed deer, which that just blows me away, right? Were both considered extinct in most of Ohio. Now I'm gonna say that again: wild turkey and white-tailed deer. Now, right now, that's not so. Now I know turkey has been one of the things that the Game Commission has been building back up, a turkey population. I don't know how long turkey were extinct. If they were here in Ohio for a while, is what this is saying. They're definitely not extinct anymore. And I was unaware that at any point Ohio dropped to an extinct level on white-tailed deer also. But again, they changed the law about when you were allowed to hunt these things in this time era, and that's what brought them back. Really shocking, because white-tailed deer are like, man, they're like everywhere. But then again, with all the forest clean out, again, we were talking about, several million, 24 million was it acres of forest, so removed. All right, so Martha, we talked about this one early on, was the very last passenger pigeon in the world, and she died in the Cincinnati Zoo. It's here in Ohio. Passenger pigeons were once thought to be the most numerous bird species in the world. Single flocks contained billions of birds. Uh, Green Feather, I don't know if you're still in here, brother, but you brought up that interesting question. That actually got me on a little scandal of researching birds here a little while back, because you posed a question to me, because we are in what is it called? Broad X, the year of this locust, this 17-year locust. And Greenfeather had posed a question. Well, what do you think our ancestors thought of the locusts? Okay. And I never really thought of any particular stories that were about locusts that come to mind or anything. So um, the first thing I thought of was the bird population, though, right? Because we're talking about birds that flocked in drones of millions. I'm willing to bet, first of all, the locust population wasn't as bad as you might think, even if it was a spawning season. But in addition to that, I through more research found out what a delicacy locusts were to our ancestor people, and so most likely, if they experienced major years of a locust, they probably were like, yeah, smorgasbord. They fried them and ate them like popcorn. Okay, so 1817, we started the Migrant Bird Treaty Act, which required licensing for residents to, again, to hunt certain species. 1919, we were talking about back, I don't remember the date, maybe one of you guys do, but coyotes became extinct in Ohio. 1919, we seen the first coyote back in Ohio. So this is, I guess, what shows that the acts that the commissions have put into place have helped, to whatever extent, to bring some animals back. 1920, the very first wildlife area, the Roosevelt Game Preserve, is purchased and licensed. So again, we're definitely trying to do something to bring back some more. 1925, they implement the first fishing license. Okay. Now, all right. So here answers the question about the deer earlier. 1943 is when they began to allow Ohioans to have the deer hunt again, because from 1900 up, they were extremely scarce in the area. And then, of course, they came back. Now I know there's no problem with finding deer around here anyway. There's too much food for them here. I could definitely understand why they were here. Okay, 1947, a survey of beaver population turned up only 100 animals across 11 counties. Earlier on, we talked about the very first place they built in Ohio was a trading post for beaver skin. Ohio was like so numerous in beaver, it was unreal. I don't ever see them here. And in 1947, only 100 of them were counted over an entire state survey. So definitely lost a lot of beaver. It's terrible. Beaver abuse. The dirtiest thing ever said on TV. I'm not going to say it. 1949, okay, so we get a new Ohio Department of National Resource. 1956, wild turkey are reintroduced as I talked about earlier. So it was 1956, turkey were extinct. We reintroduced them today. I can go out in the woods, and if I don't see turkey, I can show you signs of turkey, and that's just about everywhere. So, yay, well, that's worked. That's working. Green feathers. I wonder what would happen if they let a few hundred elephants free in Ohio. Hey, why not, right? And let's let a bunch of bullfrogs loose in Australia. Uh, Too late. Get her done. Squirrel scalp. That is tiny scalp could cut. Well, the purpose for the scalp though was just to prove. So pretty much what you were doing was just probably showing his ears and his head, just showing that you killed one. So again, there was no, it wasn't a monetary value at that point. At that point, it was just bring them in and prove that you killed so many. Um, and they introduced the wild turkey back in 1956. It was 1966, 10 years later. That's about how long Kentucky did the elk. They had their first hunt. It was limited to certain counties. And of course, this restriction has been, changed and lifted and whatnot up to today. I don't know exactly what they do today if they have an open hunt on turkey, but I know there's a lot of turkey now today. And this ends here at 1968 because in 1968 in Ohio, uh, wildlife was in danger. And I'll tell you why they were in danger because in 1958, the Cuyahoga River caught on fire. Y'all heard me right. All right, that's the end of the list. But I'm going to say that one more time. The river caught on fire. They couldn't put it out. It's like biblical crap, right? No, it wasn't biblical crap. It was man crap. Fuel, right? We used to process kerosene, but we didn't give two craps about gasoline, so we dumped it in the river. Boats, oil leaks, we dumped it in the river. One day, the river's on fire. I wonder why. All right, I'm not going to get on a tangent over that, but definitely wildlife was in danger. And it was in danger well up before the fire with all the pollution. And that again is what went on. It was just that we dumped everything in the river, hon. It wasn't a matter of every factory was building, any factory that had any waste product whatsoever. It went into the river. Uh, People, if you had anything that you didn't paint, left to you have anything, it went in the river. The river washed all your blues away. If you had to take a poop, it went in the river. We still do that, though. Don't get me started. I told you, don't get me started on Ohio and water, please. Please don't get me started on that. we live in Ohio. We drink our own poop water in Ohio. Uh, Yay, Ohio. Go team. Okay, I'm not going to get into that, please. On my you know what? I'll have to do more research on that. I just know that it actually literally caught on fire. It was an ordeal of being able to put it out. I believe there were several bridges literally in jeopardy of the fire and maybe even destroyed by the fire. But I guarantee you, if it's Googled, you will find out more information about it. And I apologize for not having more on it myself, but I'll look it up just for my own interest, just to find out more. Kind of like things that if I was talking about it with someone, I would probably remember even a little more about it if somebody kicked in a few ideas, type of thing, because it's just like it was all, other than it being on the list, it's old memory stuff. Made Ohio is what? Oh wow, green feather. What would I do? Man, I don't know, bro. Uh, can I remove all people from one region? I mean, that's you want to know what's wrong with wildlife is people. If you want to fix any wildlife, remove the people. Remove the people and remove their whatever they're doing. Don't move the people upstream and let them poop up there because it comes downstream. All right, you can't do that. But if you move the people completely away so that they can't affect it, you just fix wildlife. Just step back. You just fix it. You just fix it. Yeah, right there. But progress. What's more important? Man sees himself as a superior being because of his intelligence. Because we have the ability to put together this device and put on this show, and I can talk, and you can understand me, and we can think, and we can rationalize that. All of a sudden, we're the most important thing. Okay, we're it. Um, and I don't think we'll ever change that mindset, or it'll be a long time before we do. And it's that mindset that'll never allow nature its true freedom that it should have to live. And everything that's alive here has the same right to live as you and I do. May it be an item that has the ability to walk amongst us, or a thing that has an ability to just stay in place. But it's there's a life there, and I think we have to really change our mindset and realize that all life has a value, and then maybe we could begin to fix things. I don't know, but there's nobody can be responsible for making a financial gain while causing toxins to nature. If you go home and can sleep good at night, then there's a problem. There's because that's it. We're supposed to be so special. We're such great human beings. This thing we are, damn near God thing we are. Then why can't we do it and preserve all of this at the same time? Why aren't we able to? Because maybe because we're fooling ourselves that we're not so special. We're more like destructors. We don't solve problems, we create problems. Overdevelopment and urban swells driving force. You got it, Hike with Mike, and without a doubt, Ohio. We were going through this list. I don't know how long you've been in there, but the change Ohio has gone through when it comes to its natural resources is just incredible. The amount of forestry lost, the amount of pollutions, and the amount of animals lost. It's just it is terrible. But it comes down to how do you correct that? Uh, in order for man to continue to progress if this life that we all live is your vision of progress, and I guess getting one day getting to the Jetsons. I don't know what's the end game, because nobody's ever explained the end game to me. But uh, if that's the goal here, then I guess everything that's happening is just fine. Because it's all about people and progress of people. But if we truly did care about more, then we would all it'd take everybody have to change of mindset. It just would. Uh, it'd take a complete change of mindset. Oh yeah, yeah, no doubt. Hike with Mike about Florida, without a doubt, and that's everywhere really. It's so happening everywhere. Um, and Florida. Florida's they got a lot of things going on with sinkholes and all kinds of stuff, and now with their probably seawater rotten buildings that are falling apart. I'm assuming if anybody's ever seen video of Alcatraz, right? Why they don't use Alcatraz as a prison, because you can pretty much kick your way out of the building. That's what salt water does, to concrete. So Florida's kind of surrounded by it. Every storm's carrying it in there. Uh, Passion hemlock. I don't have any here in this area. It's brutal here. Trees are gone. Road buffered along the main roads. Yeah. Get her done. Yeah. And that's, again, that's so much in so many places. Uh, it, Luckily, southern Ohio gets a little bit of break from that. And then you go down into Kentucky, there's a lot of woodland down through there into Tennessee. A lot of those areas were adopted earlier on as areas to preserve by the government. Um, I know I I know that Daniel Boone played a big part of that in Kentucky with surveying lands and marking lands that they all the way back then they were writing that we should never allow any settlers to build here. This should be open for people to come to, or wildlife to live. So, we always did acknowledge that, I think, throughout time. Time has shown that to me, and history showed me that we always acknowledged it. Just whether or not, acknowledging it was enough. Here we all acknowledge it here. Everybody who's been watching has been, speaking up about, care for environment and ways to avoid things. But nevertheless, we're going downhill. We're not coming up. If it wasn't for John Theodore Roosevelt, and you're right, that those were again in the right time era that we were really noticing our impact on this country from what it was when it comes to wildlife, as well as the other forest lines and things like that as well. West Haven, always and forever. Welcome, my friend. All right, love from Connecticut. Awesome. Welcome to the show. Again, we were just talking about some history timeline of wildlife here in Northwest Ohio, and again, it changed quite a bit. I'm out here again. Another night at Camp Yankee. It rained all day today, all day. It just finally stopped this evening. If you follow me on Instagram and Twitter, it's actually been raining every day for the last week, I think, pretty much. I've been throwing up, little rain clips of this. There ain't a real. I'm gonna say it how I was always raised to say it. It's just been raining like a cow pissing on a flat rock, and what I mean is the rain is pouring straight down, no wind, and just like if you ever stood behind a cow when it was pissing, it's just like that. That's how the rain's been coming down around here. Um, so we've been getting a lot of it. Teddy. When he was VP and McKinley was assistant, the news reporters had to hike deep into the Andrecht Mountains to find the camp. Oh, that's awesome. Awesome that he was camped, so he was way camped out in the mountains. Yeah, that's pretty cool, man, without a doubt. Where's she at? Where'd she go? Ela, come here, baby. Come here, baby. Here you go, baby. That's Ela. Oh, my baby girl. She's my baby. She's my baby. My big baby. Now she's going to get her basketball. All right. So yeah. Anyway. That kind of brought us through that little list. I just thought it was fun to kind of go through talk about some of the wildlife. Uh, it's been raining, so everything's kind of been wet. I got long pants on today, first time in a week because the temperature dropped also this evening. Um, Everything's holding up well because we've been. A lot of times I'll take the tarp, set up down, but I haven't because well, the wind hasn't been bad. Uh, I moved the little tent out of the sun also. It's the hardest thing on your stuff, guys, is the sun. Believe it or not, it ain't the rain, it ain't the wind. Well, it can be the wind, depends, but it's the sun. That's the hardest thing on your gear. If you can keep it out of the sun, you'll be all right. She is beautiful. Well, thank you. She's a big baby, huh? Ain't you? She's a big baby. Loves her basketball. What's left of it? I have heard there is a Sasquatch legend in Ohio. There is. There is. Yes. I have seen some videos on a small town monster. Don't know what region of Ohio, but the state has a Sasquatch legend in Florida. Skunk ape. You guys got a skunk ape, right? We got Sasquatch. We also have in southern Ohio, there's a region where there's like, they just kind of refer to him as like a swamp monster. It's a protected wood area, so uh, I believe it's like a no entry area that's all fenced off in the woods. So that kind of makes part of the mystery even a little bit bigger. Uh, but Bigfoot, we've definitely down southern Ohio and along the Ohio River, we have Bigfoot sightings. They had the frogman sighting in Ohio too. We have grass ape here more toward northern Ohio, grass ape in Cuyahoga Valley, and Michigan, and all the way into this region of Ohio, and I guess all the way down to southern Ohio. We also have the dog man or the dog boy or whatever do you want to call that guy, who is not a Bigfoot, was like supposed to be like a dog that walked on uprights in the woods. And he makes certain appearances on like a cycle or something. Anyway, I talked about him once before. I had the information on him. I don't remember all of it, but that's another one we have. Um, oh, and did I say the frogs? The frog people. We get that. That was a Ohio legend too. They turned. They that I'd say those cats were watching too many movies and maybe doing something else. I don't know, but uh, that was like really straight up sci-fi, the Frogman one, because they like seeing these two frogs that were as big as people, like having a conversation. All right, but now it gets weirder. That's right, it gets weirder. One of them had a magic wand, man, and like he made the one disappear, and then he made himself disappear. Uh, yeah, so you like I said, I don't. There was that one's. You can research the story, and you have to come to your own conclusions. Uh, this is like one of the UFO stories on TV. Actually, I don't know if I should even say this, but I actually know one of the family members of one of the people who tell the story, and I've seen it told on TV many times, and I actually know the family. And the funny thing is they tell the story on TV the exact same way he tells it in person. He's like, y'all sit around and you will hear the story. He'll tell it. Uh, but he always starts off with the same line. And I told him one day, I said, man, if you drop that line, you might have a little bit more luck at convincing people of the story, but maybe not. But anyway, the first line of his story was, the moonshine had just finished being run, and it was the best run we've ever made. That's the start of the story. And anyway, they had a major UFO encounter. The little aliens, there was a shootout. Police got involved. Um, but yeah, anyway, UFO alien stories, man. Who knows? Hey, according to the Pentagon, they could be true. And then everybody have to head on down there and, be like, dude, you were right. You were right. It wasn't the moonshine. It wasn't. Much love to Kentucky relatives, y'all. Straight up. Don't hate me for it. I didn't say your name on live media. All right, guys. I think, man, we got a nice little breeze. Thunder. We might get more rain. Yeah, so be it. I sleep good. If it rains, I sleep good. Anyway. So no complaints there. Definitely thunder. All right. I think I'm going to wrap it up within the next 4 minutes here. So if anyone has, Megan Fox, what up? Hey, it's great to see you, girl. I'm just out here hanging out at the camp. We did a little video about, almost tripped on my dog. Did a little video about wildlife time frame here in Ohio, and we talked a little bit about Northwest Ohio and my region here, and wildlife that's no longer around anymore, and maybe you know maybe why it should be back around. You want a thunderstorm? I'm sorry. We have. If I could, I'll tell you what. Ohio's cheap, so we can't deliver. But if you'd like a rainstorm, come on up and get one, because we've been having them every day. Just pick you up one of them pockets off the radar and whoop you right on down there. Wouldn't it be cool if you could do that? I just want to get what you said. Awesome, awesome. That's awesome. Well, that's what I do all summer long. It's what I do. It's fun. I love it. Hoping I got a couple people that I'm not going to say anything because I don't put no pressure on nobody, but I got a couple people that are offering to come out and visit me and do a little camping with me this summer. And I'm hoping that comes off. I also got a trip possibly planned of a couple really cool for me spots. I don't know if they're cool for you spots, but yeah, we'll find out here. So I'm hoping that stuff works out. But time will tell. Stoner. Oh my God! All right, then. Let's see here. Let's do this. Oh, let's go like here, right here, and I'll walk back there and stand next to it. Not quite. It's pretty big though. I don't know. Did you see me? I couldn't see the camera back there. It's getting there. It's getting there. Usually it's like right here by the 4th of July, and what is that? 4 or 5 days yet? It'll be there with all the rain. Now I'm almost wondering if what I'm hearing right now isn't thunder and it's fireworks, because it's staying a little consistent. We could do that. We could do that, Green Feather. Come on out. We'll do that. We'll have a ceremony. Yeah, it will be. It'll be up. Like I said, it'll be up here. I'm already, I'm surrounded by it, so I'm already pretty private down here, which I love. Uh, that's ta-da. All right. Yeah, come on out, Green Feather. We'll do a ceremony. Bring a bunch of people with you. We'll do a big ceremony. We get all wild like natives in the woods. Just don't imprint and oh, now come on. What happens in the tent? All right, I'm gonna end this right here, and I'm gonna end it on a terrible joke because it's just who I am. So I will say thank you all for coming. Thank you all for watching. I am gonna back out and I'm gonna go. But on the tent, on the tent comment, I will say, have you ever had sex while camping? It's freaking intense. That's right, freaking intense. Love you guys.